Hello, DevOps friends. Welcome. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor. Excellent. That's at least what Twitch says about the stream health. So let's hope it stays that way today and we won't have any breakage. And it's the Monospace office hour today. As always, on Fridays, I do an hour of AMA, Ask Me Anything. If there's anything that you'd like to ask about DevOps, about site reliability engineering, about system administration, software engineering, IT careers, why I'm wearing a Silicon Graphics hoodie, or any other question that crosses your mind, I'll try and answer it. I'm not familiar with all the topics in the world, and I might actually not answer every question, but the questions that somehow relate to what we're doing in the DevOps space will certainly be answered. And in order to get your answer, you need to submit your question to qa.monospacementor.com, where I can collect your questions. I can highlight them once I start answering to them, so everyone joining the stream just then will know and have the context about what I'm talking about. That's why I prefer gathering questions on qa.monospacementor.com instead of in chat, where I would have to frantically scroll around all the time. This way it's much easier. So yeah, while you go ahead and think about a question that you'd like to ask, I'll actually tackle a question that was asked during our last office hour. And that was the question: will WASI replace Docker? Now, question is, what is WASI? Let me try and get the definition on my screen. That's not easy because it has many definitions. So I had to actually search around for quite a bit. And let me get this over here. No, not over there, over here. So WASI is the WebAssembly System Interface, a set of APIs, and high-level goals of this project is define a set of portable, modular, runtime-independent, and WebAssembly native APIs, which can be used by WebAssembly code to interact with the outside world. These APIs preserve the essential sandboxed nature of WebAssembly through a capability-based API design. Blah, 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 blah. Make a great platform is goal number 4. Work with WebAssembly tool and library authors. When being WebAssembly native means the platform isn't directly compatible with existing applications, switching for other platforms designed to enable compatibility to be provided by tools and libraries. Yeah, so actually, I'm not sure how much WASI intersects with Docker. Maybe I'll find a different definition. If WASI is actually a tool to basically allow WebAssembly code to run anywhere and interact with the outside world, it would actually be similar to Docker, I suppose. And I don't think it'll replace Docker, as the question asks, but it will nicely complement it, because WebAssembly is very lean, very fast. You can write software that is really fast, and it's very sparse as well in terms of infrastructure needs. And therefore, I would expect a tool that allows WebAssembly to run and interact with the outside world over the network and other things to be quite performant as well. And Docker comes with a lot of overhead. While Docker is built into the Linux kernel, or the capabilities used by Docker are built into the Linux kernel, there is a lot of overhead in terms of managing the whole environment, the built-in containerization, things like that. So I would assume that a WebAssembly-based system could nicely outperform what a Docker application can do. However, I find WebAssembly stuff still be quite a niche, and therefore I don't see it replacing Docker anytime soon. It's just too specific to what WebAssembly is about, and so, I mean, it doesn't have to replace it in the first place. If there is something that offers an alternative, in the end, we are all to benefit from more choice and maybe even some friendly competition between projects. So my short answer to this question, will WASI replace Docker? Nope, I don't think so, but it'll be a nice addition to the whole ecosystem. And there's a follow-on question. Would WASI and Docker be able to coexist? And by the way, thanks for... oh, excuse me. Thanks for sharing your questions. Questions are already coming in, and that's amazing. That's why I'm here for, and what you, I suppose, are here for. And so this makes me really, really happy. Would WASI and Docker be able to coexist? Yes, of course. I mean... You could even go as far and say, okay, whatever technology is used to create a runtime for WebAssembly applications, you could even run that inside Docker. Depends on if you want to do that. There might be reasons not to do that in the first place, but yeah, why wouldn't they be able to coexist? I don't see them being in any way mutually exclusive. Here's a more general question. I am working on IT support engineer and systems engineer for the last 7 years. Wanted to move into DevOps or SRE, but I'm not good in programming language and coding, so that's why I could not crack the interviews. How could I become good in that? And how do I practice in getting interested in that, like Python and Ruby or Bash? I mean... on a very superficial level, you've already answered your own question. You do know where your challenge is in terms of, SRE in particular, but DevOps as well, requires a certain amount of software engineering knowledge. SRE in particular has a large software engineering focus, and if you are still a beginner in that area, that's definitely where you should put your focus in terms of personal growth. And you have already addressed in your question that it's about practice and getting interested in programming. And you are already listing 2 programming languages. I wouldn't count Bash as a programming language per se, but it's definitely also logic. And it's a nice tool to have in your tool chest as a system administrator. And so I guess... start putting what you've already mentioned into practice by picking a programming language, and Python is definitely a good choice. I myself am a Ruby developer. Mainly, I've programmed in many languages over my career. And at the moment, I'm focusing on Ruby. I'm also getting more into Go, which is certainly another programming language that is well known and respected in the SRE community. The whole Kubernetes ecosystem is pretty much built on Go, but there's also Rust, of course. All good options, and I would recommend you simply look into or choose what's most interesting or convenient for you. There's no need to tell you you need to do Go because that's what Kubernetes is written in, or you need to do Rust because everything else will be obsolete in 2 years' time. You can pretty much still pick and choose. On a practical level, you'll always run into the risk of your next employer not using the language that you have been focused on at that point. So you need to be able to switch languages when switching jobs anyway. It's more important to have the basics down, to have the engineering part of software engineering down. And you can acquire this knowledge and this experience with almost any programming language. So pick something like Python, Go, Rust, or Ruby if you like, and choose based on what's most convenient for you. What do I mean by convenient? I mean, is there something that speaks to you? Is there something that you like about a language? Maybe you know people practicing the specific language. If you have a lot of people around you that do Rust, I don't think it's a bad idea to go into Rust as well, because you'll have plenty of people to ask and to guide you. If you are already part of an online community that prefers Go, maybe Go would be a better choice. If the language itself looks straightforward or interestingly architected, and I would count Ruby as one of these languages, then choose that. Another convenience factor could be how many free courses can you find on that particular language. There are courses for Rust and Go out there that you can take, at least for the basics. And if you find that one of these languages is better supported, I guess you'll end up choosing Python if that's your reasoning, because I don't think any language can beat what is available for Python in the online world. So don't feel pigeonholed into one specific language, but choose one that promises the most success for yourself in terms of how quickly you can learn it, how much support you can get for it, and things like that. And then just get started. Choose a project. It can be a pet project that you'll throw away after a few months. Just the other day, I talked to Balthazar, one of our community members, and we talked about early programming projects where he picked programming a blackjack application in Apple Basic back in the day, dating ourselves here. Something that's just pick something that seems fun or interesting and start implementing it in the language that you have chosen. And from there, I guess, you can grow and gain new skills, gather experience. And I'm pretty sure next time you're going to apply for a job in the SRE space, you'll be much better positioned. Of course, none of these things come overnight. It'll take effort, it'll take time, but I don't see the space shrinking, even though there are layoffs. I mean, online itself is not going to go away. And also, I'm convinced that AI isn't going to change anything about that either. So I think it's a good investment. If that's something you would want to do and you want to eventually move into DevOps or SRE, I would say, yeah, set aside time to grow, to learn, to practice, to experiment, break things and learn from fixing them. All these things are how many of us got into the space in the first place. And I'm pretty sure that if you put in the effort, you'll see the results as well. As always, if you have any follow-up questions on stuff that I've already answered, you can also post your questions right on qa.monospacementor.com and I'll pick them up. We can create whole threads of conversations here. I'm more than happy to go deep into a specific topic if that's what you need, if that is what is going to help you. That's what I'm here for, so use me. And while we're waiting for new questions to come in, I'll make sure to drink my tea while it's hot, something I really struggle with. How many times have I found my cup of tea still half full, but completely cold? So Puffin joining us. Good morning, folks. Good morning to you as well. How are you doing? I had to revert my workstation. I rebooted my PC this morning, and since Bluefin had updated overnight, I found myself in Fedora 41. And everything felt nice, but of course, as it always is, specific applications that have specific requirements, such as OBS, tend to break in the early days of each new distribution version. So I couldn't get OBS use the NVIDIA drivers on my machine. And OBS only ran with 80+% CPU load on a Ryzen 9 with 32 cores, and that is no good. So I had to do the thing that you do when you're running an immutable or atomic Linux distribution. You simply reboot into the previous version of your operating system, which in my case I had actually pinned, so it doesn't get cleaned up automatically. That is always going to be a fallback for me, so I can get back into the previous version of Bluefin that still runs Fedora 40. And yeah, we'll do this dance for a few times now in the coming days, always checking if OBS, the container image of OBS that I'm running, will now work with the new NVIDIA drivers or not, or if there is a fix going out or something like that. It's a little bit annoying, but on the other hand, it's much better than actually upgrading your operating system and not having any way back, apart from restoring a full backup. In my case, I can simply reboot into the old version, and all it takes up is more disk space. So that is still convenient, and having to reboot a few times until everything shakes out is not too much of a hassle. So Puffin said, logging back in, applied to an informatics analyst job yesterday. Love my job right now, but this analyst position is more in the direction of where I want to go. Hopefully it goes well. Fingers crossed for you, buddy. Best of success. Excuse me. Pro tip, do not drink and breathe at the same time. At least you don't have to redeem hydrate quite yet. Still taking care of that myself. Another personal update from me. I finally slept well last night. I've been having sleep issues for quite a while now, and I probably should see a sleep lab or something and get checked. Because, so often my digital tracking tells me I didn't sleep too well. And I feel that way in the morning. Both on Tuesday and Thursday, I had to sleep in until 11 a.m. But that was not to any fault of myself. But I got woken up by external factors. Let's call it them. Wife. Yeah, I'm happy to finally got a message this morning. You did sleep well, and I actually felt it. And that is a critical factor for my live streams, actually, because when I sit down to do a live stream, as I usually schedule them for Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m., and I don't feel it, and I'm completely drained and feel like my batteries are empty, then there's a good chance that I'm not going to launch a stream. And today I'm very happy to be online. There's Thrall. Good morning. Or they say, to Sir Puffin. Happy to see, and it's a good afternoon for myself as well. If you've just joined, feel free to ask questions, because this is the Monospace Mentor Office Hour, where I'm only sitting here waiting for questions to come in that I might be able to answer. I'll do my best, I promise. On my office hour, it's up to you to post your questions to qa.monospacementor.com, and I'll pick them up if they are about a topic that I'm familiar with. I'll try to answer your questions to the best of my abilities. And my main topics are, of course, DevOps, SRE, system administration, software engineering. I've been in IT basically since 1984, when I got my first home computer. And so I'm more than happy to share a few decades of experience in the space. Worked as a software developer, web developer, IT manager, system administrator, and now I've been running my own managed hosting company for 14 years. So there are definitely a few topics on which I can answer questions, and there are many other topics that I'll still have to explore. RJ asking tea boy. I'm having tea. That's all I can say. And I guess tea boy is still better than tea bag. How you doing, RJ? If RJ asking, did you ever hold that position as a T-boy? Sounds like the only one you missed out. Oh, there are many, many more. And I mean, I'd say I've been married / in a stable relationship for many years now, more than 2 decades. So I would say that I did hold the position of T-boy more than one time.
Hike the planet! Hike the planet! Shut up and get in the car! Hike the planet!
And the aforementioned Balthazar joining us and subscribing for 9 months now. Thank you, Cody. That's so kind of you. Stream baby. Archie says, otherwise, not too bad. Quiet weekend ahead. I'm hoping for that myself, to be honest. Weather has been Autumnally dreadful, I'd say. So, Beth is asking, aforementioned, what slander were you spreading about me this time? Well, all the recordings have been properly deleted. You will never know. And of course, no one is going to tell you. Right, audience? Well, questions are coming in over on qa.monospacementor.com, so let's tackle them. I don't know in which order they came in, actually. I think this one was the first one. Last I saw, you were working on updating your courses, but I don't recall specifics. Can you elaborate more on your courses? Yeah. Oh, that's a little bit of a sore topic, actually, because my progress has been, well, glacial would be polite. So, for everyone in order to catch up, everyone, as I said, I'm part of a managed hosting company, but I love teaching. And actually, before I became an IT manager and after that launched my current company, I actually worked as a trainer. I started in 2001, got certified as a SUSE certified Linux trainer, and basically traveled from training center to training center, or company HQ to company HQ, to teach people about Linux system administration, network administration, security, all these things. And I had the fun of my life, actually. I only picked the management position because it was offered to me by one of my training customers. And by then I was a little bit tired of traveling all the time, spending whole weeks in one city and then the next week in another city, and only seeing my family and friends over the weekend. And becoming an IT manager seemed interesting, and I expected to be teaching in that role as well. So it wasn't too much of a change. Well, turns out it was, but that's not here nor there. So I have a passion for teaching, and in recent years, that passion, I felt that passion coming back, and that's why I actually started monospacementor.com, which is basically my side business, where I'm going to satisfy that teaching urge. And so I'm working on Linux adjacent courses in order to get software developers into DevOps and SRE. So if you are already familiar with the programming side of things, but you would like to get into Linux system administration, into configuration management, and all the other DevOps topics, that's something where I'd like to focus on. However, turns out that with a family and a running company and a little bit of downtime that sometimes goes into World of Warcraft, there's not much time left for creating courses. And I don't know if you know, but creating courses is really, really hard work. At least at the level that I'm aiming at. I just don't want to throw out knowledge that is easily available and just regurgitate what other people have written. So unfortunately, my progress here hasn't been great. The urge is still there. I guess it's a matter of time management and energy, which brings me back to my sleeping issues. If you are too tired to write course content, that content is not going to be good if it's going to exist in the first place. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm definitely going to let you know once I've made progress, especially when my courses are actually on monospacementor.com. It might take me a few more weeks, maybe at the beginning of 2025. But yeah, we'll get there in the end, I promise. Here's another question. Apparently a weird one. I am making a lead code type of coding puzzle platform in which you can race versus other people to get the right solution. Interesting challenge, actually. I have a game object which handles these multiplayer games. Now my question at hand, how to best save a code submission from a user? Would you save a reference of it on the game object itself? Look it up at runtime, something else? Ooh, that's an interesting question. Huh. Software engineering, huh? So, I love it. I love this question. Code submission. I guess we can always assume that is going to be plain text. UTF-8, if not ASCII. So you could store it in a text column of your database. You could also save it as a text file. Maybe in something like an S3 bucket. And then reference it on the game object. Since you asked look it up at runtime, that depends on how often you need that code snippet. Maybe a text column in that case is a less performant option, because it'll mean that once you retrieve a game or a submission record, the code will always come with it, which will increase your query size and your result sets in general. And if you don't need that code fragment all the time, this might be wasteful. It might increase the bandwidth required to your database and things like that. I would probably prefer an option that decouples the two things. So maybe still go with the text snippet in S3, or at least store it in a separate table, which then gets referenced using a foreign key. I wouldn't mind storing it in the database. At one point you'll have to use disk space anyway. And don't think you're going to do full text search or something like that, so database might be a good option, but not as a column in the main objects table. I guess everything else is going to depend on your implementation details and how your whole domain looks like. But at least the things that come to my mind, none of them seem wrong. As I said, the text column option might have downsides that might show themselves or might not. We should always also avoid premature optimization. Maybe start with a text column. You can always extract that later if necessary. That's just a quite common refactoring step. So, Juice with Apfeldrin says it's stored on a separate table already. So yeah, I guess that's definitely a good choice. I would consider that an option if I built that myself as well. And they also clarified you can also use different languages to play versus the others. So there is more than just a string for the code. Save it in MongoDB. I think the submission at the moment looks like language, code, language version, user ID, puzzle ID. That makes perfect sense to me. That's definitely a good choice. I would go forward with that. Okay, that's that question. we can go deeper into that as well, but I'd like to pick a quick question from chat from Steve Sunflower. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Monospace Mentor. Quick question. When you just started programming, did you find it boring at the beginning? I love tech and I found coding interesting for the majority of my life, but I could never learn it because it was too sterile for me. Am I just not the right guy to learn code, or do I just have to push? Maybe because I'm a gamer and my brain is used to constant stimulation, which coding does not provide. Dude. I'm sorry. Not assuming. Steve, I don't think from the get-go that it's not for you. And if you are a gamer, that means you have quite a few of the properties that are necessary for coding. So don't discount yourself quite yet. I myself didn't find it boring, but that was because I started computing when computers still were really, really exciting. I was born basically at the same time as Unix, 1970. So my first home computer was at the beginning of the 80s, and home computers only started to become home computers where you actually could afford having one in your home. And everything around them was exciting, even though they were just glorified calculators back then. So I don't think that compares to today, where they are everywhere and built into anything, even toasters. I think it might just be a case that you haven't found a project that excites you. Because coding can provide you with constant stimulation, because either you're getting successful results, which I always find very stimulating and motivating, or you get back error messages, and that means you have a new challenge. Find out what's broken and fix it. So this whole loop, implement something, it works, go to the next thing, or it doesn't work, fix it, and then go to the next thing. That pretty much gives you that stimulation loop. Of course, if you have to do something that doesn't excite you, the practice of coding alone might not be the thing that grabs your attention. So it might just be about finding something that you find, something, as we call it in software engineering, a domain.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Thanks for the follow, Steve Sunflower. Welcome to the stack. A domain, which means an area or a topic that is interesting for you. For example, maybe it should be something around gaming, and I don't necessarily mean game development. It could just be maybe you'd like to start with an application that allows people to look for groups outside of the game that you're playing. So, for example, I'm a casual WoW player, and I actually started building a web application to where people could sign up for groups and things like that outside of World of Warcraft, because I would have been able to add more features to that, like vetting of players or player feedback, things like that, avoiding or isolating toxic players, things like that. So maybe that's something that you could look into. Don't get discouraged at this point, because I don't think there's any indication yet that coding or programming or software creation is not for you. catching up with chat here. Yeah, great example, Balthazar. That basically hits the same nail as I did. A tool to help people in the Final Fantasy XIV space complete their series rewards. All right, let's go back to where I ask you to submit your question, and that is qa.monospacementor.com. And we have a question there. I would assume working in Linux system administration, you are running Linux as your daily driver. Yes, that's the case. Does that mean you are also running World of Warcraft on Linux as well? Yes, that's the case. What's your distro of choice? I'm running a derivative of Fedora Silverblue. So on the very basic level, it's Fedora Linux. I like Fedora because it keeps the pace or it keeps track with current developments. The software that's available for Fedora is always pretty recent and pretty up to date. I still have control when this software comes in. So it's not like with the Arch-based distributions, for example, where you are pretty much at the bleeding edge and might actually suffer from that too, because since I don't use my workstation just for gaming, I'll have to run my business from this workstation. I need to rely on it, and I can't have random updates disrupt my workflows or force me to tell my colleagues, well, I can't contribute to our code today because some programming tooling broke after the last update or things like that. And that's why I run a derivative of Fedora Linux called Bluefin. Bluefin is pretty much the sweet spot of what I personally want from a Linux distribution for developers. And I actually wrote a blog entry about it, or maybe even two, I don't quite remember, on monospacementor.com. So check my blog out if you want to learn more about Bluefin. And actually, since we are talking about gaming, well, games run nicely on Fedora Silverblue and Bluefin because Fedora, or at least a Fedora adjacent project, provides pretty recent NVIDIA drivers, which is my GPU of choice. And that means that combined with Steam or combined with another Windows emulation software like Lutris, for example, which is also built for gaming on Linux, games tend to work quite nicely on Linux. And with a game like World of Warcraft that doesn't have huge requirements in terms of performance, it works very nicely indeed. Fragberg joining us. Good morning. How's it going? There is, in fact, another distribution that comes from the same group of developers as Bluefin, which I use, and that distribution is called Bazite. Bazite is even more geared towards gaming. It's specifically geared towards gaming, actually, and for that they've picked quite a few gaming-related tools with support not only for GPUs but also for input devices, so gaming mice and other things. They also picked stuff that Steam is using on their Linux platform, i.e. the Steam Deck. So Bazite is actually a gaming specific Linux distribution that works pretty nicely as well. And Fallen ESO adds, as long as the games don't have kernel level anti-cheat, games tend to work quite well under Linux. That's my experience as well, yes. And kernel level anti-cheat, yeah, that's just silly. And I hope that gaming companies don't find different ways of doing that, because That's the most silly thing I've ever seen. Having a gaming-related part in the kernel, in the very brain of your computer, if on the software side at least. Yeah, I guess that's like getting a brain implant for playing sports. That's a little bit overkill, I think. Thrall says I use Arch myself for my daily driver, but I run Debian on all my servers. Yeah, I'm similar. My company, being a hosting company, of course, runs hundreds of Linux servers, and we run Ubuntu on those because of its long-term support, which is pretty convenient. We are actually considering switching to Debian in the long run, simply to be independent from any shenanigans that Canonical might come up with. I did run Manjaro when I came back to Linux on my desktop. It seemed to be a nice way to get pretty up-to-date, if not very up-to-date software, but eventually it broke. And that's when I decided to test Fedora Workstation. That worked well, and that then got me to test Fedora Silverblue. And when that worked even better, I tried Bluefin. Switching from Silverblue to Bluefin, which is a derivative of Silverblue, was very, very easy. Since Bluefin has been working for me pretty amazingly, that's where I am at, and I don't see myself switching anytime soon. I can actually try and find my blog entry about Bluefin on my own site. Let me check that out. Yeah, it's one of the more recent ones. To all the DevOps friends who've joined us recently, this is my office hour, and we're going to go for at least 10 more minutes here. You can ask me anything, and if it's on a topic that I'm familiar with, I'll do my best to answer it. Post it to qa.monospacementor.com, where I can pick it up and get it on screen. Yeah, so feel free to post another few questions. Bethesda says, conversely, I do not daily drive Linux, though my new workstation will fix that, hopefully. Let's hope so.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
Thal, thank you for following. That's very kind of you. We'll go until I have no tea left. And cup's almost half full still. The nice thing about office hours is I don't have to prepare anything. I don't have to do coding and make it interesting. I can simply lean back, enjoy my tea, and wait for questions to come in. The life of a DevOps streamer. Later, I'll continue chilling, reading my new book that I just started, which is titled Git Commit Murder by Michael Lucas. And yeah, it promises to be interesting. And I'll have to fix the progress sync on my KO reader installations, because apparently they don't really sync their progress between my different machines or different devices, which of course we can't have. But as I said, so I had a bit of an interesting brainwave in the show this morning. In the shower, I guess. Shower thoughts. Share your shower thoughts with us. With so many web-based apps that could be pretty useful as single-user apps, I was musing about an easy-to-use way for end users to run web apps on their local machines. Go on. This can take many different approaches. One that comes to mind would be something like Coolify. I mean, the standard answer would probably be something Docker something. But I'm curious of the details that came to your mind. So let me see why a sync doesn't work. I guess I'll delete the book here on my tablet. Then I'll connect to Calibre, which I still have to start. Okay. Calibre connect. And now I'll push the book to the device again. Hello there, says Coffee Required Dev. There is a true nickname if I ever saw one. Welcome to the stack. Welcome to my office hour, where I answer questions that you have to come up with. Yes, you can. Feel free to answer to ask sensitive questions. I mean, I always reserve the right to not answer them. But if I deem it helpful, I'll try. Now I'm curious what it might be that you're trying to couch here. Bethesda says, I figure with things like systemd and spawn running an OCI container is pretty easy. Yep. Pair that with bindings. Another option would be Docker or Podman with quadlets. That's, I think, a Red Hat only thing that's available on Fedora for me. It's not ubiquitous. Pair that with bindings on the localhost network, layer 7 load balancer, something like HA proxy or something. Locally trusted only Acme provider and a lightweight DNS server. It'd be possible to have namespace, local first encrypted in-transit web apps. That's true. Now that you list that, it seems to be a little complex for every user use. Not sure. Let's see. Here's coffee required dev. I'm working on my thesis. Can I ask a few questions about the war? I'm doing a job that focuses on what streamers, developers think about the war and if it has affected them in their work. I'm asking because although it doesn't concern us directly, we were occupied by Russia in 1968, by Germany, and every day I'm afraid that something will break and overturn Europe. That's why I started to write about this topic in my thesis. I'm from the Czech Republic. I see. Okay, I can see that this is indeed a sensitive topic. Politics is always dicey. I am actually struggling to come up with a concise answer because this is a huge topic. And it's a serious topic that if I wanted to answer it, I wanted to answer it in a serious and helpful way. On the other hand, I'm not really a historian, so I guess my wife would be a better person to answer that because she did actually study recent history, which does include the 20th century. And I guess getting into these questions in detail would be pretty interesting. However, it would completely derail us from the topic here, which is site reliability engineering and adjacent topics. So how about we move this to Discord? Feel free to join my Discord server. And we can always start a thread there. I'm open to discussing topics like that because, as you say, they do affect us. And as long as we manage to stay in a constructive and helpful state of things, that is definitely something that I'm open to. For here on this office hour, it would be too off topic, I'm afraid. But I agree with Choose with Apfeldrin, war bad, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely something we should be able to agree on. Invalid invitation. Interesting. Let me grab a current invitation then. So I need to update the redirect there. Not to worry. Let me grab an invite for you. So here's a link that will work for at least another hour, another week, sorry. Here we go. Bethesda says that's a conversation one has with a beer in hand, not a coffee or tea. That might actually be the case, or maybe a whiskey. I did enjoy a nice whiskey last night. As I did enjoy our World of Warcraft raid, which finally I managed to handle, where I was able to do both my rotation properly and do boss mechanics, which was a big win for me. The first time that I was able to combine those things in quite a while. We'll have to get you some. We'll have to breach your OPSEC find your address and send you a proper bottle of whiskey. Coffee Required Dev says, thank you very much. While you're talking about JSON, did I? I am a Java dev and I'm now serializing an object to JSON and back from JSON. Do you know the JSON library? I'm actually not a Java programmer. I tried to get into Java back in the day. When I said, okay, I need something more suited to the task than writing CGI scripts in Perl. And I did try to get into web development using Java, but I never got into it. I was completely paralyzed by choice and overwhelmed by the amount of code you had to either write or at least generate to even get a simple web application running. And so I never got deeper into that. And pretty much at that time, I think I got into Ruby. And yeah, I've adopted that as my bread and butter language. And of course, if I need to build a web application now, I'm using Rails. Coffee Dev says, same. Invalid invitations, no limit on countries? I don't think. And I mean, even if there is a limit, you're not based in Iran or something. I have no idea why it doesn't work. Did I get banned on that server? I'll check. I don't think so. Very rarely do I have to ban anyone on that server. People are decent, turns out. I'll check after the stream. Maybe you got caught by something? I have no idea. All right, folks, I'm almost done with my tea, so last call, as we say here in Ireland. qa.monospacementor.com. Post your questions, and I will speak my answer. Frogback says he only bans me for my stupidly long rides. Well, you're making everyone feel bad, and that's definitely a reason to be banned, don't you think? Cycling hundreds of kilometers while I'm struggling to finish a 5K. I mean, look at you, sitting on a bike. Oh, look at me, doing 250 kilometers in a day. You, my friend, are an absolute machine, and I would never ban you for that. And maybe I'm going to be able to finish a 5K soon, now that I'm really liking being back doing karate. There's another training starting later today. I'm so much looking forward to that. I'm itching. I could do hours. And our sensei announced in his email earlier today that senior levels might get an extended training from next week on. And I so hope that he does count purple belts into senior level. Oh man. I'm so excited. I'm doing stretching and all the things to get better at stuff. I will work very, very hard to achieve that black belt eventually. It'll take me a few more years, but my goal is to get a black belt before I turn 60, which is in about 5 years. And so I think that's realistic. Fredbear says that said, distance on foot is horrible. I'll stick with my bike. Yeah, I mean, the problem is there's no e-shoes, huh? I know, you're not running an e-bike. Just messing with you. No, Juice with Everton, I'm not struggling with a 5-kilometer bike ride. It's a 5-kilometer run. I can do 3.5, 4, but then the struggles start. So I'll definitely work on that. And that's why I got myself another smartwatch, actually. I left the Apple ecosystem pretty much when I switched to the Fairphone, which is Android-based, a few months ago, which basically rendered my Apple Watch useless as well. And yeah, I did a run last week or so, and I realized, yeah, I'm missing a smartwatch that keeps track of my heart rate and things like that. So I got myself one of the mid-level Garmin watches. That's a very reasonable approach, Fragberg. Got absolutely nothing about e-bikes. Think they're great for getting more people cycling. My country is not exactly bike-friendly, so the more the merrier. Yeah. Unfortunately, most countries are not exactly bike-friendly. So yeah, getting people simply on the saddle and doing something is better than nothing, definitely. My friends, this concludes today's office hour. I hope to be back next week. The usual stream times are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 2 p.m. Irish time, which is at the moment 1 p.m. UTC, I think. And I can't promise that I'll be there. Sometimes work or other life things get in the way, but I'll try to hold on to these times. And yeah, we can continue our conversations on Discord. The link is still in chat. And I'd also like to invite you to the server room, my membership community. It's a nice way to support me financially with a moderate membership fee, but you'll definitely get something back in terms of not only a great community of very inclusive and friendly people, but also community events like the Hangout that we did last week, which was a great crack, as we say in Ireland, a great chat. We do community workshops and other things, and so you'll definitely get something back from your membership or for your membership fee. Well, there's of course always the streams as well, which I hope there will be some next week as well. And until we talk the next time, take care.